Welcome. I am going to do a how-to. It's just one of many ways to install a seat. Get a lot of questions at Shop Talk about how to get your ears clean and things like that as they come around the cantle binding. This one happens to be a pencil roll that I'm working on right now. But as I go, I'll explain as well how the same tools that I'm going to use will work for a Cheyenne roll. First thing I want you to notice is that I've taken a laser and I've got a square line coming through. So this is my center line of the seat this way, and there's a line here, and I need that to do the prep in this seat. You don't have to have a laser. As long as you know where center of your cantle is and center of your swell is, you can take a ruler and make that line and then just square it across from corner to corner in your ears. So pretty self-explanatory there, but you need those lines. This line tells me where my binding's gonna actually tuck in under the ear. So as we go through this, I'll try to explain the best I can of what I'm trying to accomplish. But I'm going to make them same lines across this seat. And if you look at this seat, I have a pattern that we have a pattern here at the shop that is square. Because the way I personally do it, and we have makers that do it 3 different ways here, but the way I personally do it is different than the norm, I guess, if you will. So I'm going to get a center mark here to start with, which is the same line that's coming through the saddle seat. Okay? Going to just use a pencil. This is 28 inches wide right now, and that's typical. It works pretty good in most saddles. We have had some that we make a little wider depending on what type of swell and stuff it is, but 28 inches is fair. And then this measurement I could shorten up for this saddle because it's got a shorter seat, but this measurement is 30 inches from front to back. So I just made it long. We're going to cut a lot of material out of it, but going to get this center line so I can see it well all the way up through like this. Okay, and these represent another square point for me in my pattern. It's already prepped that way, but if these aren't exactly square, you want to take your square and make yourself come across fairly square. And we'll just use this just to double check, make sure I'm right. We'll make these lines and then I'll stand it up and show you what it looks like when I'm done. So that's what I've got. So I've got the same lines on the underside of my seat that I do here. Okay? Now the next thing that I've created is this tool right here. And a lot of people, when I show this, they want me to make them one, but it's really simple, guys. You need this straight line that comes through here, like so, okay? And then this is an 1 3/4 round punch that I've used, and then these are little 5/8 round punches that I've used there. Okay, and that's my standard binding tool, and this is my Cheyenne roll tool. Okay, and it's got the same line, it's just a different shape here. This one is a little more difficult to figure out. If you need help with it, holler at Shop Talk, we'll get you figured out. Okay. All right, next I'm going to come to my saddle here, and this line that comes across is what I'm going to measure. And when I told you before, let me find my pointer. I told you before I want my binding to come in right here. And this varies depending on how high you want your ear to come up. When I first started learning, I had measurements like 5/8, like that when I started learning from the old dogs and stuff. I've gotten to where now I just put it where I want, where I think looks good. I like my ear cut to be a little lower than the older style saddles, which is fine, but you can also use that 5/8 measurement from here to here. But that's where I want my binding to tuck in. So that's what I'm going to measure right now, is across that measurement. So from there to there is 11 inches exactly. Okay, 11 inches. So I'm going to come to this line and split it in half. So 5.5 and 5.5 is 11. I did go to Gunnison, so you guys gotta bear with me if I got that measurement wrong. But I'm just gonna make a mark at 11 there, and then at the beginning of the tape there. So I'm 5.5 off of center. And those reference points are very important to make this work. One here and one here. And when I come through with my tool that I've built, this is what it's going to look like now. Now you can see why I like the straight lines. So if you look at this, basically, this is the seat where my binding is. You guys see that right there? So that's this right here. And I've drawn a pin right here to what this is going to kind of look like when we get coming around there with that ear cut. Okay? So I'm going to come in there with that tool and make that mark. And I'm going to come over to this side, and you notice I don't have to flip this around. This is even from side to side, so it's the same exact half round on each side. I'll show it to you here in just a second. So that's what we're going to look like. Okay, so initially I used to cut this completely out. But I found with your heavier leathers, every leather has a different thickness. So with that different thickness, it can change where that lands. So when I come in and cut this, you'll notice that I do this one, and I come around and I stop it about right here. And I leave this free floating. And then I'm going to fit the seat in the saddle, and I'm going to actually finish this cut, because I may be here and I may be here with my line. So I just come in part way, and then I'm going to do this initial cut as I'm fitting the seat to make sure it's right on the money. Okay, that's important. Don't try to make that cut now, because there's a chance that it's not going to fit exactly where you want it. Okay, you can make it work, but it's not as fun. Okay, I want to point out this particular seat's a smooth out seat. Every maker knows that's really tough to keep clean. So when I get my red board out, I've got a little just a little piece of chap leather that I'm gonna set over it, just to try to help keep that smooth out clean. With rough out, it really wouldn't matter. I'm gonna take my 1 3/4 half round here and go ahead and make this ear cut there, and my 5/8 round cut to there. And remember, I told you where I was going to stop. I'm not going to cut this initially. I'm going to do it as I'm fitting the seat in. So that's what we're looking like currently. Then I'm simply just going to come in here and make this cut from here to that corner on both sides. Another important thing to remember when you're doing any kind of seats, or well, really anything with a saddle and this heavy leather, is the important tool is your knife and how sharp it is. you got to have sharp equipment if you want to do a nice clean job. So I made those 2 cuts there. Now I'm free. You can see the ears now. The next cut I'm going to make is a relief cut, and it's going to come in here like this. Okay, there, and that's another thing that you've probably not seen much of. But I just need to know now how deep I dare take that cut. And it looks like I can be at about 11 inches. What I'm looking for is I want to be ahead of this handhole right here in the gullet area, so that my seat doesn't end up back here. Okay, so I'm just going to make my relief high enough that it's just enough relief to get me kind of going here, and then we'll fit the seat later. So we were at 11 inches. I'm going to come in here and make my mark at 11 inches. I'm going to take my 1 3/4 round that I've already got out here. Okay, when I'm making this relief cut, I'm just going to come in here with my 1 3/4 round, and I want to make sure that I've got it exactly centered. This is important because the lines I'm going to create here are square with my pattern. So when I get fitting the seat in, I need these lines to take the one cut off the one side of my swell and match it to the other. You'll see later how that's going to work. I'm going to go ahead and cut that. I brought it out 11 inches just like I measured from here to give myself plenty of room. And now I've just centered that, and I had it centered until I touched it, and then now I'm not. But let's go ahead and fix it. Did I get through it or not? I got my little mallet here, so where it went. So that's what I'm looking like right now. Okay, and I'm going to come across and get this measurement here, which is 7/8. So I'm going to come up here and make a 7/8 mark, and another 7/8 mark on the other side, and this is where I'm going to cut my relief out. I want that to be a straight line, square with my pattern. So we're going to cut that out, okay? Get my cut board out. It's a hard piece of leather here. Even wet, I'm having a hard time getting through it. Ought to be fun going around the swell. So that's the piece I just cut out. And that's what we look like. Okay. So next we're going to go into and start fitting this into the saddle, okay?